Lewissa Wall.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Ka whakauinga e au te tiriti o Waitangi. What's so hard about that? What's so hard about having the choice as a Member of Parliament elected by your constituents, and in particular I want to draw reference to my constituency of Manurewa that has 28% Māori. What is so wrong about me being able to uphold or to make an oath to uphold the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi? And in fact, when I look at being a member of the Māori Affairs Select Committee, I want to acknowledge the Chair, the Honourable Tau Henare. I want to acknowledge Tūrero Flavel. I want to acknowledge my colleagues, the Honourable Parekura Horomia. I want to acknowledge General Tirakatini. I want to acknowledge Louise Upston. We've just come back from a trip to Alice Springs, and in Alice Springs we talked a lot about Indigenous issues, about Indigenous peoples, about the status of Indigenous peoples not only in their country but in our country. And I can't see why, given we have a Māori Affairs Select Committee that actually acknowledges that we, as the Indigenous peoples of this country, have a very special and sacred place within the institution of Parliament. Mr Speaker, where does that come from? Where does that authority derive from? I would say the Declaration of Independence in the first instance, which was our assertion of sovereignty. Māori are the first sovereigns of this country. We can't change our history. So the reality is we have a Treaty of Waitangi that, as a Māori Affairs Select Committee, we are working to redress the grievances of the past. To come into this House and say there is no status of the Treaty of Waitangi is ridiculous. It's ridiculous given we have a Minister of the Crown, the Honourable Chris Finlayson, who is working through an incredible process of truth and reconciliation, that we can have a process that so far has expended $1 billion of Crown money to say sorry to our Indigenous people, to then say that it is irrelevant and it's not already a constitutional document of this country, actually is pretty immature, I believe, in terms of the debate we are having tonight. What I want to say is that Matthew Palmer, in his book, The Treaty of Waitangi in New Zealand's Law and Constitution, has said that the Treaty of Waitangi is best understood as representing an explicit commitment to the health of the relationships between the Crown, Māori and other New Zealanders. I believe that Tūrero Flavel's bill enables us to actually realise this explicit commitment. I don't see anything wrong with us as Members of Parliament being able to swear an oath to the Treaty of Waitangi, our founding document, when we have the honour of representing the people of New Zealand in this House. I do not understand why there is such resistance and why we have to wait for a constitutional review process to take place before some of us, as adults, as people who recognise and understand the history of this country and who want to acknowledge that the Treaty of Waitangi is the founding document of Aotearoa New Zealand, and we do want to uphold. And what does that mean? We want to maintain, we want to affirm, we want to defend, we want to give moral support and inspiration and lift up the Treaty of Waitangi to its rightful place. So I'm here in support of this bill. I want to congratulate and thank my colleague Tūrero Flavel for bringing this bill to the House, for providing us an opportunity as Members of Parliament to actually recognise that we have a founding document of Aotearoa New Zealand. But I also want to highlight that there was, earlier this year, 50 of the country's brightest young people in the development of a draft constitution. So they were law, history, communications students. There was a forum facilitated by Dean Knight from Victoria University Law School, and the group made it very clear that the Treaty of Waitangi should be central to a new constitution. There is a recognition already in our country about the status of the Treaty of Waitangi, and all this bill seeks to do is to enable individual Members of Parliament to be able to affirm, to be able to commit to upholding it. I note that the students wanted the Constitution to be more visible, modern, bold and unique to New Zealand, and evident was the emphasis on treaty values. They also wanted to rename the Prime Minister as Tumuaki. So, Mr Speaker, I have risen to support this bill, and I want to again congratulate my colleague Tūrero Flavel for bringing it to this House. Kia ora.
Ian McKelvey.